Hello again, I am Blunty. This is the MSI GE727RE, one of MSI's latest range of laptops, of course, all featuring now the 7th generation Kaby Lake Intel processors within them. This particular model is also one of MSI's first laptops with NVIDIA's new GTX 1050 Ti graphics cards in there as well. Now, MSI's GE series laptops are sort of the everyday general purpose laptop, so it's not specifically a gaming machine, although with the GTX 1050 Ti in it, it does really do quite well in gaming, as we'll of course be showing you in a second. But it's a lovely, lovely general purpose laptop. It's got plenty of power with the i7 CPU in there. It has a beautiful screen. I mean, ridiculously beautiful screen. Also, 120 hertz screen. It's got a super nice finish of it, all alloy chassis around it as well. Quite a nice little trackpad. SteelSeries keyboard, of course, which, as you may be able to tell, is LED. It doesn't have to look this rainbow garish, by the way. You can make it a little more subtle. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, just sort of a really nice all-rounder 17-inch laptop that just balances everything really, really nicely. Performance and weight and size and thickness and, you know, feature set and everything. It's just a really, really nice balance. So, let's dig in a little bit further all about this little beastie. From the outside, the GE727RE is a rather attractive bit of kit. Pretty classic MSI, smooth black brushed alloy bodywork with subtle design lines, bold but not obnoxious red accents, and their classic logo backlit on the lid. At 2.7 kilograms, it's not the lightest 17-incher I've seen, giggity, but a pretty reasonable weight for a laptop of this size. No issues with moving it around. The usual host of MSI's laptop bells and whistles are here, of course: the SteelSeries keyboard, the Dynaudio and Nahimic audio, killer LAN, very fast SSDs, and it's all good. The audio in particular is a step above the usual laptop crowd. I mean, the built-in speakers aren't going to blow you away, but they are pretty good, and they do have plenty of volume and stay clear and clean even at maximum volume, which is always appreciated. But the fancier audio processing stuff really does come into play more with headset use. Also, of course, there's that 120Hz screen I mentioned. A screen MSI claims has all the advantages of a standard IPS panel, including a nice wide viewing angle, but with an even broader color range, and frankly, it is glorious. Very clean, very clear, colors present extraordinarily well, and it is just, in general, a very nice thing to be staring at for hours on end. You can also get it with a 4K panel, though you will give up on the super high refresh rate to get there. And while my review unit does not have the 4K screen, I have seen it in person, and it is every bit as impressive when it comes to presentation. So if you'd prefer more screen real estate over the super high refresh rate, you've got the option. You have a sprinkling of the usual useful ports, some USB 3.0s, a USB 3.1C type, HDMI, mini display port, both of which can squirt out simultaneous to 4K displays, Ethernet, the usual audio pair, and usefully an SD card reader. The slightly textured touchpad is tactically pleasant to use, a reasonably good feel to the click. It's honestly about average for a touchpad, nothing really to love, but quite serviceable. Honestly though, with a 17-inch laptop, I think it's safer to assume many users will be using a mouse while at the desk anyway. I certainly do with laptops of this size, it's just nicer. The SteelSeries keyboard is, by no surprise, very nice indeed. No changes here from what we've seen before on other MSI laptops in recent times, and that's fine by me. SteelSeries know when not to mess with something when it works so nicely already. Leave it alone, it's great. Obviously, you do have a few different lighting zones to adjust to your liking, and you can do the usual fade and blink and throb or rainbow cycle stuff you can do with pretty much every RGB thing these days, but rather more interestingly, there's the ability to tie in the keyboard lights and their color changes directly to games, flashing red when you're taking damage, for example, or to show your ammo level or your hunger level in Minecraft, or any number of useful indications that can sit in your peripheral vision as you play. It is, of course, a gimmick, but it is actually a useful gimmick that some people may really love having. The other factor when gaming, of course, is fan noise. We've all experienced the gaming laptops that scream themselves into a frenzy trying to deal with the vast amounts of heat generated by such demanding activities. And, well,
well.
So, the benchmark has been running for about 5 minutes now. The fans are as loud as they're gonna get, pretty much. I'm sort of maxing out the system here. This is a benchmark that focuses on GPU and CPU, and as you can hear, no problem at all for me to whisper over the sound of the fans. And it's a relatively pleasant sound as far as laptop fans go. It's not very high pitched, it's not very whiny, it's just sort of I don't know how well you can hear it for yourself actually, because it is pretty quiet. But, there's a fair amount of heat coming out back here, but it's not sort of, I can put my hand right up against the vent and it doesn't feel like it's going to set fire to my skin or anything, so it's not generating a lot of heat to begin with. A combination of the efficiencies of the new Intel chips and of course, the 10 series GTX graphics cards in there. And if I can reach around enough to get my shortcut keys working here, I can actually turn up these speakers and show you how easily the fan noise is drowned out by the laptop's own speakers. Of course, it's going to sound a bit crap to you guys because recording laptop speakers through a microphone through the medium of YouTube is never going to sound that good, but point is, I can't even hear the fans anymore, and I'm sitting right next to it. No, I kind of can, just. So, yeah, whether or not you're sort of just using the machine with the built-in speakers, or indeed, if you're gaming and using a nice headset, you will never ever hear the fans. They are superb. I really like the fan designs, and the cooler designs, I should say, more specifically, in the MSI laptops. They are just so very good. I was impressed with them on the last generation of laptops with the Skylake chips in them. I'm impressed again with the Kaby Lake range as well. And they have actually improved the cooler slightly on a couple of different models as well. More heat pipes, that kind of thing. And they're just getting better and better and better. So, if a quiet machine is what you're after, it's hard not to think about the MSIs.
The benchmark's results themselves land pretty much exactly where you'd expect an i7 paired with a GTX 1050 Ti to land. The only real compromise here is that unlike the desktop GTX 1050 Ti, this one has 2GB of video memory, not 4, which will affect performance under some circumstances. But if your primary need and priority is gaming, you would be better off selecting a GTX 1060 or GTX 1070 carrying model anyway. The GE72 here is more of an all-rounder, and to that end, it still delivers some damn fine gaming. Rise of the Tomb Raider swings between 45 and 60 FPS in high settings here. No real benefit in adjusting to take advantage of that 120Hz screen with this game.
Oh no, they're already here. Got to get inside.
Watch Dogs 2, a CPU brutalizing game in high settings, lands with a similarly balanced performance level of around 45 FPS or so. Quite nice.
Acknowledged. We are en route.
What in the world?
Right, we can use them as an eyewitness. Suspect is described as follows. Copy that. A patrol car is known to the suspect.
This is the police! Pull over now!
And Doom, a game where you can truly feel the glory and advantage of that 120Hz refresh rate in high settings, will dance you up to triple digits, but stick more commonly around 70 FPS. But gaming on this laptop gets really interesting when, as I happen to have a HTC Vive on loan for another MSI product review I'm working on, I decided why not see if the GTX 1050 Ti can even cope with full-on room-scale VR experiences. Now, everyone from Valve to HTC to Nvidia will all tell you a GTX 1060 is the starting point for a perfect VR experience. And they are, of course, right. Why wouldn't they be? They're the people who make this stuff. However, if you have a need to pull the GE72 and its GTX 1050 Ti into service for some VR, the moderate surprise is that it can. In fact, it was close to perfect in many situations. But as expected, I did suffer some frame rate issues in a couple of the more demanding experiences I tried, but for the most part, it was more or less a flawless experience. I suspect the 7th generation i7 was helping in taking up some of the slack I'd expected from the below recommended spec 1050 Ti, but there's no denying that VR worked, and it worked well, and kept working even when I was using the GeForce Experience to directly record the VR gameplay I'm showing you right now, right here, on the same machine. So it can play VR well and encode video recordings of it as you're doing it. I was a bit blown away, to be honest with you. But again, if what you want is a laptop for VR, I would definitely choose something from MSI's 1060 or 1070 toting models, because the 1050 Ti is on the ragged edge of its capability here. But if needs must, well, you're seeing for yourself. I'd honest to goodness expected an experience so juddery and stuttery and miserable that I would become instantly motion sick and spend the rest of the afternoon laundering the vomit out of my shirt. But you know what? Not bad. Not bad at all. I love being surprised like that. I'll tell you what though, for a really superb VR experience, thanks to MSI's clever engineers, hang on to my channel for an upcoming review of their backpack computer, the VR1. Bit of a game changer, that one. But back to the GE72, for its intended purpose as a balanced, all-rounder, everyday 17-inch workhorse laptop, it really ticks all the important boxes.
But yeah, if you're in the market for a nice little all-rounder, everyday 17-inch Windows laptop, this is absolutely worth considering. And, to my great surprise, as we covered earlier, you can actually do VR on it. And again, you know, the 1050 Ti, not recommended for VR. You want to start at the 1060 if VR is what you want to do on it. But if you've got a VR system for your main computer and you want to occasionally use it with your laptop because you're traveling, or someone else is using the main computer, or you just want to set it up in a different room or something, then you can get by on it surprisingly well. What's not to love? Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and we'll catch you next time.